This episode of the COARSE GRIND Podcast has been brought to you by Central Sports and Graphics Incorporated, family-owned and operated screen printing and embroidery business located in a historic storefront on Old Berwick Road in the heart of Espy. They've been doing screen printing for over 20 years. They have high-quality product at a low price. Be sure to check them out. Central Sports and Graphics Incorporated, 570-784-1212. Now, on to the show.
Hi, this is Chef Rick Moonen. We're listening to Sean Rossler on COARSE GRIND. Come and listen in. Get a few tips.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. A new century, episode number 201 of the COARSE GRIND Podcast. With you as always this evening, host creator Sean Rossler. How the hell is everyone doing? Can somebody say new century? I mean, I just said it, so I guess we're good. But off we go to the races with a brand new century, hundo of episodes, and I, for one, have been looking forward to it. Those close to the show who've stuck with me through this past year, thank you. Obviously, it's been a rough one, but your messages, comments of support, and just overall energy kept me going when all I honestly wanted to do was hang it up. And I thank you for that. And by God, based on this recent reconnect I made, I'm glad I didn't. So in return, let me give you this return visit with one of the greatest OGs ever to grace the COARSE GRIND Podcast mics. You'll know what I mean. Trust me. Tonight's guest began cooking in high school while working at a local fish market. His passion led him to land an externship in Italy at 17 and ultimately to the Culinary Institute of America. After graduating CIA, he worked at several renowned kitchens in New York City, including Oriole, Kraft, and Casa Mono. While at Casa Mono, our guest was chosen for the second season of Top Chef, which he went on to win. Damn right he did. With his winnings from the show and the support of his family and friends, he opened his first restaurant, The Gorbals, in downtown Los Angeles, and soon expanded to Brooklyn, New York. Side note, for those culinary competition knowledgeable like me, an amazing masterpiece called Knife Fight was born from The Gorbals, and I personally would pay steeply to see it return. I'm just saying, side note indeed. While in Brooklyn, he and colleague Rahul Kopkar imagined the concept for Ramen Hood. They opened it soon after and never looked back. From there and most recently, you've likely seen him on Time Machine Chefs and most recently, Guy's Tournament of Champions. No big deal. Seafood, vegan ramen, so much more. The last time I had this guy on, he was driving his kid to school. Behind the curtain, we were totally talking about this before we even hit record, and truly proved to me that Top Chef alum are some of the realest ones out there. So 175 episodes later, I am truly looking forward to catching up a bit and retelling you some of his amazing stories. So let's get down to it, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between. Culinary legend, icon, and chef competition regular, who just also happens to be one of the oldest of the OGs from Top Chef, having been crowned Top Chef Season 2, the Chef Ilan Hall. Ilan.
Hey!
It's been forever, dude. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Oh, man. Couldn't be better. Again, we were, to again kind of break down that third wall, we were talking about, how old our kids were and how many kids I had. And it's just crazy to think what changes in the span of 9 years, but so much. And yet, again, here you are doing your thing, and it's amazing, and I was so glad to see you on Tournament of Champions. We'll talk all about that, and I can't wait. So before we get started, for folks new to the program, folks with terrible short-term memories like yours truly, starters, mains, and afters. Starters, we talk a little bit about the history of the guest du jour, if you will, what brought them to be in the culinary strata. Mains, we talk about where they're at, what inspires them, what makes their heart pound, and finally afters, a little bit more irreverent, a little bit more off the cuff, but no one has been seriously bodily injured in 200 episodes, so I don't see it happening tonight, but who knows. But without further ado then, Chef Ilan Hall, tell me about what you grew up eating.
What I grew up eating really was my dad's food. Mm-hmm. And my dad started cooking out of necessity because, when he got married, he was incredibly young. Mm-hmm. And, we could go back to it. He started cooking because his mother was a terrible cook. He grew up in Glasgow, Scotland.
Oh.
And, he would tell me, I mean, the food in Scotland is unbelievable now, but he said that his mother would slowly roast a salmon in the oven for about 3 hours.
My Lord. Oh my God.
So,
oh my God.
So
and I mean,
his mother wasn't the best, and he grew up, so he kind of taught himself how to cook, doing basic things, steak and onions and things like that, but, lots of sort of on the cup barbecues and things like that. Just, taught me how to cook fish on the engine manifold of my Volkswagen Golf when I was in high school.
That is
incredible. That was a pretty
incredible.
cool thing. So, things like that. My dad was very crafty, but he was the cook of the house. I mean, his office, he still works. His office is in my parents' house. And so when my mom came home from her work, she was a newspaper designer.
Mm-hmm.
He would have dinner ready every night.
Mm-hmm.
And he just, do very simple things, roasted fish and meats, chickens, very vegetable heavy, not a ton of starch. And it was just really, really nice, clean eating, lots of fresh things. We had an incredible local fish market by us. So that was how I grew up. And my first food memory, the thing, and I know you didn't ask this to me, but I just had this conversation with somebody 2 days ago.
Yeah.
The thing that made me realize that food was more than just sustenance was when I was about 5 years old. We were on a family trip in Greece, and I ate fried calamari, and there was something I'd never eaten it. I never thought about food. I have no food memory before that.
Yeah.
So there was something turned on with fried calamari, and I remember so much of the color of the light and just the sky and the ocean, and I remember the exact way these things taste.
And it's a complete experience that way. And what's so funny is, so I keep everything. My wife will tell you, it's not hoarding. It's probably borderline, but whatever. Who cares? So I have the interview sheet from 25, and that's how you answered that question. You answered it with the 5-year-old calamari.
Oh, really?
What was the first food memory you had? And it was that. And so and I hear you. And one other thing you just said that my dad growing up, he didn't always cook, but when it was his day off, he did cook for Mom. And it was such a telling experience. It was a great experience to see. And I really think that kind of shapes those of us who, I don't have professional leanings in the culinary industry, but I have probably an unhealthy addiction to just knowing about as much as I can.
Yeah.
I just think that's so telling and so real that 9 years later, same answer came out. What kind of an eater were you? Were you picky at first, or were you just adventurous?
According to my parents, I wasn't very picky, but especially after that happened, then I was floodgates are open.
Wow.
So there were things that I preferred. I didn't love, and this is kind of I hope my dad doesn't hear this. I didn't love the way my dad used to cook fish. I realized in retrospect it was because he slightly overcooked, leaner fish, flounder, and white meat things. I always loved when he did swordfish very well. Sometimes he overcooked it a little bit. And then I realized that it's not that I don't like fish. I just don't like fish that's overcooked. So I got to a point where, when I started learning how to cook and my dad would teach me how to cook, I would reference cookbooks and it'd be oh no, it's supposed to be a little bit more translucent when you cut through it. So I would go back and be let's just keep it off a little bit and keep it up a little bit. And my dad actually cooks fish perfectly now, not because of me, but just because I think of our conversations about it and collaborations and realizing that, if this is a little bit on the more rare side, it's a bit better. So
I love that. I absolutely love that. And I think, fish is a slippery slope, man. Beef you can play with. I think even chicken's pretty forgiving, but fish is 30 seconds and you're in the wrong end of the pool. And what's so funny is that that's your modus operandi now, right? Fish is your bag if it's not vegan ramen, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So how funny is that kind of played forward? You mentioned some of the dishes that Pops made. And I wonder, is there one or two dishes in particular that you look back to and you're it honestly makes your heart physically hurt that you miss it because you've never been able to recreate it?
No.
Or are you
really.
that damn good now?
I mean, yes, but no. No, but it's not even like that. It's that the food that he cooked that I loved it because of how straightforward and simple it was. Yeah. It wasn't that he was taking chances, just that his technique was really good. So, like, he does a roasted chicken that is not the way I do roast chicken. He'll roast a chicken, and it's not like super dark or crispy, but he'll roast it, and then he'll add chicken broth. So there'll be like garlic and tons of things stuffed in it. If I'm over with my wife and kid, then he'll do 2 of them. But if it's just me, him, and my mom, or my sisters, he'll do more chicken. But he just roasts it, like, not even that high, like 325 or something, just stuffed with herbs and garlic. And then at a certain point, he pours a little bit of chicken broth in the pan. It's not elevated or anything. It just sits in there with it, and then it sort of like steams and glazes the bottom of it a little bit, and then he takes it out and just cuts it up with with chicken shears, like very rough. Nothing like, and so it's like little bits. There's bones on it, and almost like Chinese style.
I love it
in terms of the way it's cut, not in sort of flavor, and it's just perfect.
Yep.
And he does that for my mom twice a week, and he'll do a roast fish, and he'll do and there's always a big salad, and so it's just like that's my comfort place. But it's not that I can't. I'm sure I could recreate it, but I don't want to recreate it.
Exactly.
It's like it's special because it's also special because he makes it. It's not. That's sort of a mantra of mine, is like, the best food is the one that you're not cooking yourself.
Oh.
And it's because there's something magical about somebody else making something for you, even if it's technically not as good as you could do it. Yes, I understand the science and the signs and the techniques of making something perfect, but like that's not food is emotional.
Yes.
This is I don't know how R-rated I can get.
You can get totally R-rated. There's no FCC on this shit. Yeah.
It's always, even if it's bad, it's always better when somebody else is jerking you off than if you're jerking off yourself.
Precisely. If I don't make a shirt out of that shit tomorrow, you have full license to do. Holy shit, I need that in my life right now. I'm making a note on the interview sheet right now. Right now. That is fantastic. No, but you're totally right. Bourdain said it about, people who got nervous cooking for him. He's like, but you're cooking for me. And I think that's been a lesson for me over 10 years now. It's like, now when I cook, and I'm a student of the craft. I'll never, I'll never go to CIA. I'm not going to do that. But I have so many smart people in my sphere, like yourself, sir, that like I can glean just enough. I can warm my moth wings by the candle flame just enough to know just what it is I'm doing. But again, one of the biggest lessons I learned was that, if you have a chef in your home, they really don't they're not critiquing it. They're just glad to have somebody taking care of them the way that they've devoted their lives to taking care of others.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's just about, it's about like the care that goes into it. And there's an intangible magic.
It's vulnerable too, right? It's total vulnerability. Because you're putting your best effort out there. And I'll never forget, for the company I work for now, I started doing a professional podcast with regards to like our practices and everything. And we were doing a user conference virtual because of COVID. And they're like, hey, would you do a cooking demo for 20 minutes? And I said, well, sure. Yeah. I mean, my go-to is my brown butter omelet. Like, no question, hands down. I can crank that out, bang that out. So I had the VP of operations mirroring me on the fucking demo. And I'm like, oh God. But you have to stop yourself. And I imagine as a professional chef, culinary icon, you have to stop yourself sometimes and go, it's never going to be perfect, but if it's good, people are going to love it. And that's fine. That's good enough.
Yeah. I mean, when I'm making something, I guess I have a little bit of a different perspective because it's my
That's why
job.
You won a season of Top Chef, and I'm sitting here behind a mic.
Well, I mean, yeah, but I feel like any professional should sort of try and seek, you're trying to get, of course you know that nothing is perfect, but it's always what you strive for.
For sure.
I mean, that's not, listen, I kind of shat the bet on Tournament of Champions, but...
Well, I think that's up for debate, but,
No, it's not up for debate at all. No, I know exactly. It's like when I did Top Chef. I mean, that's we can get into that however you want. But when I did Top Chef and I didn't win a challenge.
Yeah.
See, I was very like recipes in my head. I was like, okay, this is one of the most delicious things I know that exists. So I had a few of those that I tried to apply in certain places, and they worked when I did.
Yeah. Yep.
There were three. There are actually three that I flexed. And there were four, but only three of them worked.
Yeah.
Because one didn't fit the challenge 100% properly. It was kind of a backwards, like, the way they presented the challenge to us. Mm-hmm. And then, like, they told us behind the scenes what the challenge was before they did, like, the presentation of it. So we'd already shopped prior to Padma giving the speech, even though we were told what the challenge was. Mm-hmm. And I did something that they considered a side dish. It was a challenge for whatchamacallit, is this second episode? Third episode. It was a challenge for in the firehouse when we cooked for the firemen, and it was going to go on TGI Friday's menu.
Yeah, shit.
And I did a corn dish that was at my restaurant at the time that my friend Liz came up with, and it's like a flawless corn dish with like smoked pimenton butter. Like it's it's technically a side, but the way that they described it, they said I forgot the exact definition, but the producer was like, it's a dish that has to be craveable. That's like all these sort of things, and I'm like, oh, this fucking works. This is great. I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna do it with bacon. I'm gonna do it with bacon. I don't know. I did the dish, and then after they're like, no, we wanted more of like a main course, but like nowhere did they say that. So it was kind of like I just bought a ton of corn.
Yeah. No, I get it. I'm frantically scrambling right now through Wikipedia trying to find the name of the challenge. And
it was like it was the TGI Fridays.
TGI Fridays. Here we go. The chefs had to create a dish updating a childhood classic to fit the menu of TGI Fridays that would be served to the firemen of South Pasadena. The winning entree would be featured nationwide on the menu of TGI Fridays. The winner was Betty, grilled cheese and portobello mushrooms, roasted red pepper. Eliminated was Super Slamming Surf and Turf with Emily. So
okay, what's funny about that is that in the text that you read, it says entree. But when they presented the challenge to us before Padma said anything, because they gave us the challenge while we did the ice cream quickfire, and they said, "Hey, this is the next challenge." And because of scheduling, we had to go shopping prior. But they just said a dish. They didn't say an entree.
They didn't say entree full on.
See, they didn't say entree, and that was the key.
Yeah.
So what happened was, I made this dish that was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And like I was like, oh shit, like this is a shoot. And they all said, oh my god, it's so delicious, but it's not an entree. So it was like, it was an updated roasted corn, whatever, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But that was the thing, like I had dishes that I know could apply, and that's what I don't think I did on Tournament of Champions. And I think that the way to sort of, I'm hoping I can return on the next season. It would be great.
Yeah, I mean, if I have anything to say about it, which I don't, I'll make it happen. But
well, I think it's like a side of your brain type of thing. I think people go in there gung ho and just want to like flex, but the people that win are methodical and are like, okay, I've got 8 dishes. I've got 8 dishes that I can, because you only need to do 5 things. You only need to win 5 times to win Tournament of Champions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, you need to win every one, but it's only really 5 rounds.
It's only 5 rounds. Yep.
So, like, basically, if you have 5 killer dishes that can apply to a majority of the combinations of things, understanding how the challenge is, that's how you win that game. Because then you're like, oh, plug this in. I have this perfect chicken franchise recipe that could be applied to veal, that could be applied to pork, that could, it's kind of like how I used to write my menus at the Gorbals. Sometimes I would get a whole bunch of produce, a whole bunch of protein, and then I would do color, where you do 2 columns and then you match things, or I would do 3 columns where it would be a starch, a vegetable, and then I would connect the dots.
I love it.
And that's kind of like, that's a great way to approach Top Chef. That's why I did really well on the elimination challenges, but I didn't do really well on the quickfires.
The quickfires,
Because the quickfires are, and Tournament of Champions is is fast like a quick fire, but you sort of have to approach it. I mean, this is what I think.
Like the elimination. Yeah.
You like the elimination,
Yep.
where you have to have a dish. Because that's where I was successful. When I had something in my head, I'm like, oh, this can apply to that. You know? And you just have to, like, fall back. And it's one of those things, like, I was so in my head, like, oh, I've got so much in my brain, I could just do something. But it really is about editing.
Yep.
You know, and just kind of understanding, like, oh, I made this dish. I have so many dishes that I made at the Gorbals that, like, I could do with my eyes closed. But I have to be like, okay, it has a component that's like this, it has a component that's like that, it has a component that's crispy, something braised, and something saucy. And that has to be the mantra in your head, like, okay, because when you get presented your wheel of death, it starts, you have 60 seconds to think of something. Yeah. So if you're just trying to be purely creative on the fly, it's very, very difficult. There's very few people that can do that. I think Stephanie Izard is one of the best people that can do things like that.
I would agree.
Where it's just like, it's all a crazy disaster. Yeah. If you watch her, it's like nothing makes sense, and then at some point it just comes together.
It just
does.
And
that's how I did some stuff like that on Top Chef, but it's really better when you, like, have some, like, stock, like, fill in the blanks, like, this will work 60% of the time, you know?
Yeah. And as I'm looking through the finale, right, against Marcel, to your point, you literally just outlined exactly what you did in the first 4 courses. Obviously, the 5th course was the dessert course. We're not going to play by that rule, but the pincho, pan con tomate, anguilas, cetra caviar, tomatillos. The 2nd course was macadamia nut gazpacho, pan roasted moi. So again, you're getting that, you know, here's the protein, here's the this.
My 4th course, my entree was fucking terrible. My 4th course was horrible.
The beef short rib?
Yeah, it was badly cooked, and it was not a complete dish. And it upsets me to this day. I had a conversation actually with Christian Petroni about it, because I'd never met Christian. You know Christian Petroni?
I do, yep.
I met him for the first time when we were all at the hotel at Tournament of Champions. We all hung out. It was like a small hotel, and, like, we kind of took over the whole place. So I meet him, and I'd seen him on TV a bunch, big fan, and he comes up to me, and he goes to me, he goes, braised short rib, romesco, and he just, like, says it. I go, why is that the one you remember? I'm like, that was the worst fucking thing I did. And then we became friends instantly.
Exactly. If you start a relationship off with ball busting, it's like instantly glued. There's no question.
No, but he was being sweet. He was like, I respect you. And I'm like, that was fucking trash.
My God, that almost makes it even better, to be honest.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I was just with Christian, in Arkansas. It's good hanging out with him. I like that guy. He's a great guy. Become a really great friend in a very short period of time.
Absolutely. What were you doing out in Arkansas?
It's a secret. I can't tell you.
Oh, okay. Nothing yet.
No, we were there. We were with some friends cooking for the Bentonville Film Festival. So it was a bunch of chefs. It was my friend Bert Bachman, who is an LA-based chef, barbecue champion, and Aaron May, who is all over the Food Network. Yep. He and I actually cooked together at Casamono 20 years ago.
Oh my God, how funny is that?
We were both line cooks. Yeah, and it's really funny. And what's funny is that we stayed in touch. I visited him in Arizona once, and we loosely stayed in touch, and then we sort of reconnected and really hung out at the South Beach Food and Wine Festival in, like, 2016 or something. And then I've just been in contact, and we've become just closer and closer. So it's great that I've really sort of, like, reconnected and solidified a great friendship with him, because he's a great dude.
Awesome, man.
And love spending time with him. Love spending time with Petroni.
For sure.
Eric Greenspan the other day. Yeah, I've had a pretty a chef-erific year.
A chef-erific year. I love it. And speaking of that, let's kind of talk present landscape, right? Because we've kind of gone back in the past. Folks who didn't listen to it the first time, shame on you. I'll ring the shame bell at you. Go back, listen to episode 25 if you want to hear more. We kind of touched on that food moment again. It's so funny that the calamari was still the callback 9 years later, but like present day. So, I flipping through the channels the other night, I came on Tournament of Champions. I'm like, holy shit, that's Ilan. Like, I haven't seen him in like 9 years. And it instantly got me thinking, and I want to talk still a little bit past, but just to kind of help everyone understand, because folks, if you have a culinary pulse in your veins and you were watching TV, 5-6 years ago, knife fight entered your radar. And for me, I mean this, it's not because it's you. I hold knife fight literally in the number one spot for culinary competition. I thought it was the greatest show. I really do mean that, because it was the most real. It was gritty. It was everything that I wanted from a culinary show, and it was still cool. Like, it was really cool. And I have to ask the question, because I didn't get the chance to the first time. Looking back through my notes, how did the Gorbals spawn Knife Fight? How did that happen?
It was kind of like not that. It was an overnight success. No, it actually stemmed from me cooking at Casamono.
Okay.
So at the end of the night, everybody watched Iron Chef, and so we would have like these little competitions where we'd have like mise en place that kind of wouldn't make it till the next day, and then like maybe a little bit of something, a piece of steak, like just like little things that were left over, and we would have like these really quick like 5-minute competitions where two cooks would have to like come up with something, and then like the manager or server would taste it, and one person would win, and either there was never like a prize, but it was like one person had to break down the other person's like 9 pans from the sandwich station or something, from like the cooler. So it was like, it was like a nothing, or you could bet on, you could do that, and then, but it was literally just for us fucking around, and so I kind of started doing that at the restaurant. Yeah. And chefs would come in at the Gorbals, and then chefs would come into the restaurant and be like, "Wait, I want to fucking compete." And it was just like this sort of little kind of quick thing, and we would do it every once in a while. It wasn't like a coordinated. It was usually very on the spot.
Yeah.
And I got connected with these two guys, Rich Kim and Kevin Johnston, and we. Rich and I had a really long conversation. He's like, I'm trying to come up with ideas to pitch for different networks, and do you have any ideas? And we were throwing around this idea, which actually also became a show that was sold called Food to Get You Late. But like we were just throwing around, and the thing is, I never loved, I was like, I never felt like I didn't think of myself as a host of a TV show.
Yeah.
And even, so I kind of was like, that Food to Get You Late, it's a cool idea, but like, I don't know if I'd want to host it. I feel like kind of douchey of like, yeah, I used to cook for people, and like then they, totally have sex with me. Like it felt like kind of a little bit corny. And then the evolution of that show became something else. But before that, I'm like, oh, but there's this thing that we do where we like, a bunch of chefs kind of fuck around, and we just do it. And it's like super quick. It's like not, it's like for fun. There's no money. It's just like, he's like, oh, well, it sounds kind of cool. He's like, Can we, like, invite a bunch of people and shoot one? I'm like, yeah, sure. So we got some friends with cameras, and I'm like, okay, let me ask, like, my buddy CJ, because he's, like, great, from Top Chef. He was great on camera. He's an amazing cook.
Yep.
He's like, he's great. He's a great friend. He's in LA. And then another friend got somebody else. Cut this part out where I don't remember her name. But no, there's another chef, and so they filmed it, and I was like, I didn't know how to make TV. I'd been on Top Chef, but like I didn't know how to make it.
Yeah,
And so we shot it, and it looked awesome. It felt awesome in the room, because it was just like, it was in my restaurant. It was in my home. It was my equipment. It was. Stuff, leftovers that were in my fridge, which actually was partially inspired by a challenge that we did on Top Chef. That was like, but that was the thing from Casamono. It was like, just leftover shit, like, use it, figure it out.
Yeah. But I mean, that's what made it honest. For me, okay, if I can make, boy, this is taking a big leap, and I hope it doesn't come across as egotistical as it sounds in my mind. But for me, with the Coarse Grind podcast, like, I want it to be organic. I want it to be grassroots. I don't want to pretty up a process that is dirty, that is tiring, that is everything, but it comes out being artistic. And I feel like what makes me love Knife Fight the way I did, by the way, it was Chris Morningstar that faced CJ.
This was the sizzle reel.
Oh, this is the sizzle. Okay. Even better.
No, it wasn't Chris Morningstar was when they actually competed on the show.
On the show.
But
yep.
Before that, for the reel, it was Dakota.
Dakota Weiss, my first guest ever.
Dakota Weiss.
My first guest ever on this show. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
okay.
So
even more
I don't
so.
have a copy of the sizzle, but like I have. But it was Dakota and CJ.
Oh my God. No wonder they picked it up. And that's what makes it real. To go back to it, it's like everything is like as presented. And that's what I've loved from day one. Anytime I talk to someone from Top Chef, you're all as promised. You're all the real deal. Because like, look at what you lived. And then this show, then Knife Fight, is like even more real. Because I've got a little bit of experience in the kitchen, like professional kitchens. And like, that is what you do at like 2 a.m. That is what you do. Like, it was just so real, so beautifully done. And so, oh my God, I had no idea Dakota was on the pitch reel. And because that was, I forget what episode, she's in the crowd and they like ask her about something.
She came back for that for that episode, I think.
Yep.
She came back for that episode. Yeah. It was really funny because for when we did the thing with CJ and Dakota, one of the ingredients, because I would just like go and get shit. I remember the day we shot it, I was like, I've never filmed a TV show where I have a say in anything, so I was like, let's do this. And the thing with the knives, like that was a game time thing. I was like, I grabbed some. We always had kiwi knives in the house because people would lose knives, steal my knives, whatever. People would lose their own knives. And so I had a bunch of, kiwi knives, which are really inexpensive when you buy them. They're, super sharp. And they last for a bit. So, they're super cheapy, but they work. And so I was just like, oh, let me get a big one and a small one. And just be like, I won, I lost.
That is literally one of the best parts of the show. I love that because it was so...
like last minute thing.
It's ingenious, though. It's ball busting just enough that it's humorous without being insulting, right? Like we're not crossing a line, but it was so awesome. Like I looked at these and I'm like, oh my God, I need to make a set of these. Cause we share an Iron Chef fandom. I'll share with you off the mics. I think just overall coming from an Iron Chef Japan, Top Chef fandom, then to see your show. And this is like to purge my fanboyism and like leave it here and be done with it. It really was, to me, the perfect culinary competition show. Hands down. Yeah, hands down. No question. So we fast forward. So all of a sudden I find out there were only 4 seasons of Knife Fight. I'm despondent, disappointed, etc. And I start reading more about Ramen Hood, which currently is the thing out in LA, correct? Recently, you did a piece. You did an interview or a panel. I'm not sure which, and it was one of the most. Oh, okay. Oh, awesome podcast. Even.
But it was a visual. It was a one that's filmed.
A video one versus these amateur ones that are only audio. Yeah. Sorry, children. So, but one of the comments you said, which truly made me, admire your legacy to the culinary world more, was that a good vegan chef who wants to represent meat in their dishes needs to have eaten meat before. And it almost struck me dead just where I was standing. I'm like, that's so brilliant. Tell me a little bit more about the origin story then. We've gone from Knife Fight and the Gorbals to Ramen Hood. The origin story of Ramen Hood and what made that be? What made that become?
Well, it's actually kind of a funny story. It's a two-parter. It's sort of, we had this situation. I don't know if you probably didn't see the whole podcast, but I had this I cooked a lot of meat, pig heads, pigs, whole goats, lamb, the whole thing. Yeah. And it was a big part of my restaurant. It was a big part of the identity of the food that I made. And I got a suckling pig once. One of my purveyors was like, "Hey, somebody ordered this and then couldn't take it or whatever. I'll give it to you at a good price. Beautiful, suckling pig, super high quality, amazing product." And so he's like, so I get it. I'm like, and so I go on the Facebook. I take a picture of me holding suckling pig, and I go to Facebook, and I'm like, hey, for the restaurant's Facebook, and I'm like, hey, I got this beautiful suckling pig. What do you guys think I should do with it?
Oh boy!
Like crowdsource, like what should I do? And I never thought anything because I posted videos of me with fucking pig skin and lamb parts, and it wasn't like didn't cross my mind.
Right.
And
right.
This like coordinated vegan group, like militant vegan group, was like, you're a murderer. We're gonna take your business down, basically. And these people did. I don't even remember the name of. Funny. I don't remember the name of them, but they coordinated this whole plan to like do this in-person protest inside my restaurant where they would walk in with signs and scream and kind of like outside of abortion clinics.
Or like the fur coat people, like where they're throwing paint and shit on them. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, got it.
Exactly. Like that kind of thing. And so, our landlord was like, oh, we're a little bit nervous about this. But I'm like, well, they were stupid because they were planning their entire thing online on an open Facebook page. So we were watching them, and they were scoping the restaurant out. Some of them went to my roof and took videos and said, we're here, we know everything, blah, 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 blah. So the night that it was all supposed to all go down, we were really busy in the restaurant, and I told all the patrons in the restaurant, I said, hey, listen, I know you guys are having a great time. There's this group that wants to come and protest that are vegan, that are really against everything that we do. I just want to let you guys know, let's, peacefully let them say their piece. We're not going to force anybody out. We're not, let's just let them, and I gave everybody a drink, and everybody was like super cool. They're like, no problem. We're cool.
Yeah.
Nothing happens. They never come in.
Yeah.
And they posted it. They ended up going to a restaurant a block away from me. And what had happened was we were busy, and downstairs they were having a party. And so our whole building was like packed. So I think they got scared, thinking that like I don't know what they were thinking, but we were just like a super busy place, and they were going to come in and start. So we were prepared for them. We were going to peaceful protest, please, even though it's private property. We're like, no problem, come on in. And they never came. And after that, I was like, because I cherish ingredients. I have no I think that, and when I would make vegetarian dishes at the restaurant, I would always make them vegan, because I always felt, just personally, not that other people, but like, I felt like that if you're dairying up a dish, I feel like that's not showing the true essence of a vegetable. That's just, I like eating dairy, I like eating vegetables with dairy. For me, for the way I like to cook. So all of our vegetable dishes, for the most part, were completely vegan, regardless. And I would always take as much care with them as I would with meat-based dishes, because you should do that.
Right, right.
And so they were nothing was ever throwaway. There was no wasted stuff. So I always had a huge vegetable section on the menu. So I was like, that was always in the back of my head, these people that came in, and I was doing this dish where it was kind of a popular thing for a while. We would pressure cook sunflower seeds and kind of make risotto out of it. You puree some of it, and then add it back into the sunflower seeds, and then it was a dish that it could be debated on who actually came up with it, but Alexander Talbot from Ideas in Food, who if you don't follow him, he's unbelievable.
Yep.
Him and his wife Aki, and they have come up with some amazing stuff, and I love their perspective on things. But it was a thing that they came up with, and I did it. Michael Voltaggio's had one on his menu, Malin, like a bunch of us have borrowed that dish or that technique.
Yeah.
But what was cool was that I would do one per season, and I would change the flavor profile. So and basically one time I did kombu miso, and it was always vegan. That was the whole point of it, was that it was a vegan dish that was super hearty. I would garnish it beautifully with beautiful vegetables, but we did one that was miso, kombu, and dried shiitake mushrooms. That was the base of the broth that we were doing.
I love it.
And delicious. Made a risotto, garnished it with shiso. I don't remember exactly what the garnish was, but the leftover liquid I would sip on, and they'd be like, this just tastes like a beautiful, like, super rich tonkatsu, like miso-y tonkatsu broth.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the same time, we were offered this space in Grand Central Market in Los Angeles, and then fresh in my mind was this vegan group. So like all this stuff happened at the same time, where I was like, wait a second, this is like an amazing ramen broth. And it was like waste. It was like leftover. So I'm like, wait a second, because I wanted to do something vegan in Los Angeles in this place, regardless, because of these people. And then I was like, this is a good ramen broth. I'm like, what if we do a vegan ramen?
I love it.
And so me and my partner started working on it. I had this broth idea that we tweaked and figured out, and then we just sort of started toying with it and putting it together. And he was actually in Copenhagen working at Noma at the time, and I called him. I was like, hey, when you come back, like, we should do a thing. And so it all kind of came together, and that's how Ramen Hood started.
I love that. I love every single part of that, because what a beautiful
so it's
platform.
Part spite.
Yeah.
It's part spite.
Part spite.
Part ingenuity, part, waste. And it's just kind of like, that's how it came to be.
Man, aren't all the great things, though, at least part spite? I think they have to be. I think they've at least got to be a little bit. Again, ramen becoming what it's like, it's always been a thing, but I feel like, and if I can reference anime culture, I feel like ramen is maybe a little more popular now because of it.
I think so.
Keep in mind, I was the dork in the late 90s, like ordering anime VHS tapes from Japan, but we'll sidestep that.
Awesome.
We won't admit that. We totally did just now. Again, the same guy with total DVD rips of VHS tapes of Iron Chef Japan. But anyway, again, I digress. But like, I feel like ramen is experiencing renaissance might be too strong, but I feel like people are way more aware of ramen and the multi capabilities it has.
What do you mean?
Like, just that it's not just the, microwave pack that you toss in a bowl of water, and again, that's very much simplifying, dumbing it down. But I feel like now people actually, my oldest just had a friend over, and she's like, could you put a soft-boiled egg on top of my ramen? I'm like, of course I fucking can. Please let everything in the world stop so I can do this for you. And, cut it open nice and just ever so slightly oozy. Like, but I feel like people are paying more attention to their ramen as opposed to, I think you and I are close in age gaps, in college, tossing it in, hoping it soaks it up at 2 a.m. so that I can get up for an 8 a.m. class.
Yeah.
I mean, yep.
That's what we did. I mean, I went to CIA, so our leftover food was
I was going to say, you're probably doing a little bit better than the rest of us.
No, but what's great, this is one of the things that you take for granted when you go to CIA, is that, like, there's so much food there that, like, and it's all high quality, even if it's not cooked great because everybody's learning, but you're all eating people that are in classes.
Yeah.
So, like, you're getting cooked for every single day, for every single meal.
Yeah. And so like, the leftovers are fantastic.
We also had ramen, but we also had, somehow we'd end up with, lobsters, lobsters and foie gras.
There's literally one tear running down my cheek for you right now. I'm like, oh.
Well, there was one time, my second year, towards the end, we had a class, and, towards the end, we were kind of like, a little bit loose, and my house that we had was 6 of us, and we were all a little bit slightly degenerate. Mm-hmm. And when we were in the French kitchen, I think I stole. I mean, I guess statute of limitations is over.
Oh, you're far past that, sir. Yeah.
I stole a bunch in my knife roll. I stole, like, I think 4 lobsters and 4 cooked lobsters that we had for this, like, lobster mango avocado, like, cold dish. But I stole 4 lobsters. I stole, like, a bunch of cooked foie and a chunk of truffles, and we made, like, sandwiches with them. The back of my house was fucking awesome.
Oh my God.
It was so great.
You suffered so much.
Dude, it was, that last year of culinary school was great.
Yeah.
Because I was, like, really good friends, and we just kind of fucked around.
Yeah, I love that. I love every single part of that, to be honest.
Yeah.
So,
But yes, ramen is better. Ramen, to get to your point.
Yeah, to bring it back around.
Elevated thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I mean, just like anything, anything can be elevated, right? But again, I think you need to look at the necessity of the elevation. Does it need to be so? And I think in the case of ramen, how beautiful is that? That yes, yes, you can elevate that. We just got back from a cruise, to Bermuda, and they had a noodle station. every day. And like some days it was udon, some days it was soba, and then one day it was ramen. And they had crispy fried onions, sambal alek. They literally had the whole topping station. I couldn't have been fatter or happier because of what was there. Like they had this like just layout of toppings, and it really spoke to that. So, but again, Ramen Hood's out there on the West Coast, folks. 317 South Broadway Street, LA, California. If you're in the area, I would definitely recommend you check it out. So, what else is going on in the current landscape? I know you were mentioning a little bit about some future ticklings. I don't want to give too much away, but
yeah, I mean, I'm trying to do some more Food Network stuff. I'm in the episode of Grocery Games that should be coming out soon. If it's not already out, actually, I have no idea. Where I go up against a bunch of great chefs from Tournament of Champions, and that was a lot of fun. I'm working on stuff. I'm working on a couple more food related pitches always. We're trying to figure out more Ramen Hood, more pop-ups, more Ramen Hood, working on some retail stuff. I mean, I'm just trying to, ever since COVID, it's like, you gotta I think this goes for everybody. Everybody's trying to diversify.
Yeah.
It's not one thing. You have to try 6 to make 1.5 land.
No question. No question.
So it's really just like a bit of a gig economy. But I'm trying to make some things happen.
Yeah, no, back when COVID first hit, we did 2 panel shows. Guests from Top Chef far later than you. Hosea. Well, actually, Hosea wasn't that far after you. He was season 4, I think. No. But he, as soon as COVID hit, he turned his restaurant presence into a butcher and a storefront. And it was amazing. And like, it was one of the coolest things because here he is, like, front line, like, telling me what he's doing to survive. Because, like, you see these people, you include it on TV and you think, oh, damn, man, they're bulletproof. They're fine. Your restaurateur is just like the rest. And you got to figure out, to your point, like, it's a gig economy. What can I do? Try 6, make 1.
Dude, everybody in New York, it was wild because it felt like everybody didn't know what to do. Everybody was doing World Central Kitchen, and everybody was, feeding first responders and feeding people working hospital workers, and then it was like delivery. Everybody was doing delivery, but delivery was really just, New York's a big place, but like, how many people are going to order fine dining delivery 4 days a week?
Well, that's the thing, though, too, isn't it? Like, fine dining, at least as I understood it from folks I talked to, took the biggest hit because no one was putting asses in seats. They were doing the quick casual, like, let me grab it, let me go. Our local, actually, one of our better restaurants locally, Turkey Hill Brewing, here in Bloomsburg, they turned their parking lot into almost like a drive-in theater. Like, you pulled up. Yeah. And they didn't roller skate. I wish they would. I told them that. Put some roller skates on. It'll be amazing. Nobody listened. But they took your order in, brought your order out, and off you went. And again, they were able to survive by that. But like, wow, is it safe to say that the impact is still being felt?
Yeah. Of course. Are you kidding me? I mean, we had investment. We were going to open up 5 Ramen Hoods in New York City.
Yep.
And then our investor was like, I'm a rich person. I'm moving to Aspen. I don't want to be involved in restaurants anymore.
Was that exactly what he said, or?
That's exactly what he did.
Exactly.
In more or less words.
Yep.
No, too much liability.
I get it. And it's crazy. And people, the lay diner, the lay eater thinks, honestly, they think it was over like a year ago, or even, I don't know, maybe even 2 years ago. I'm not sure, but like, it's still, the ripples are still in the water. Just like, you throw a big boulder in the water, those ripples are going out to the shores, bud. Like, they're not stopping.
Because you gotta think it's also so many people opened up. I can only speak for New York and LA. That's the only places that I have sort of a grasp on.
Yeah.
In the industry, but but so many new places opened up in New York that what happens is when you have a restaurant that's closed for 2 years, even if you're hot shit, even if you're great and people love you,
Nope.
if the same type of restaurant or the same tier of restaurant that's opening when you're just reopening, people are going to be like, oh, I'm going to go to the new place.
Of course, because it's new.
You know?
Yeah.
Because it's new. And so there's so many places like that opened up. And I think that after COVID, that is almost one of the things that affected the sort of tried and true restaurants that were trying to make it on the back end of that. You know, then all these new places opened. It's like, oh shit, because there was space available because a bunch of people went out. And so it kind of then, you know, fucked over people that, I mean, it wasn't there, you know, you can't, it's fucking capitalism. It's how we live. But
no, I know. But when you talk
you know?
about it from a place of emotion, of course you're going to be upset about it.
Yeah,
for sure. But okay, so I mean, let's bring it back to a place of positivity, right? Ramen Hood.
Of course.
Here's Elon on all over Food Network, killing it like he's done since season 2 of Top Chef, which absolutely 100% adore and stand behind. Let me ask you some questions that only somebody of a caliber of yourself, Chef, would know. Just because as we talk about the industry, as we talk about the lay of land, I think these are important to kind of look at. So we always kind of operate on like the next big thing, right? What's the next big thing? Talk to me about what the next big thing is in dining in general, in food and drink, like however you want to frame it. What is the next big thing to Chef Ilan Hall?
Oof, that's a hard. I always feel like I have a good answer for that. You know, I think that if you asked me 3 years ago, I would have said plant-based food, but I feel like COVID actually sort of disrupted that.
COVID did. I would agree with that 100%.
So I think, you know, the next big thing. It's hard because we're at this like recovery point where people want comfort food, and those are my least favorite moments because I feel like there's plenty of comfort food out there, and so when new places are opening and doing comfort food, I mean, I'm giving you the negative weight of what you asked me.
No, I hear it though. I do hear it.
But I think I feel like everybody's got burger fatigue, and I think that there's going to be some fast casual thing that's going to come up.
Love it.
I don't know exactly what that is.
Yeah.
Or where that goes, but I feel like there's, you know, the reemergence of the hot dog, or, you know, there's people that have been doing, Doghouse has been doing elevated stuff like that. Sumo Dog has been doing that. Well, places based out of LA. I feel like, you know, smash burgers need to take a break for a sec. You know, they're delicious, but like, how many more fucking smash burger places do we need?
I have to pull the curtain back. So this weekend is what we lovingly call Friendsgiving weekend. Thanksgiving, you bring the family that you're born into. Friendsgiving, you bring the people who you love. So some guests of the show are coming to the house. Beth Aretsky, Grill Bitch from Bourdain's Kitchen Confidential. She's bringing her daughter, and we're just going to eat and drink and be merry all weekend. And as a menu planning, as I'm off to do, I first pulled out Burger Bar's menu from Hubert Keller, and I looked at it, and I went cover to fucking cover, and I went, nope, I'm out. No more burgers. And I closed it, and I moved on, and I went to Stephen Reichland's Grilling Bible, and, you know, again, picked out a couple, got a cool new smoker, so we're going to be working on that. But my point to that is, like, I'm with you. I've seen enough smash burgers. I've seen enough stuffed burgers. I've seen enough Juicy Lucy's. I'm good. I'm good for a while, anyway.
Yeah. I feel like we've got it all.
Yeah. I think we've been there, done that. So let me ask you on the tail of that question then. You give me fast casual, kind of a, you know, wonderful kind of open-ended fast casual, I might add. But then on the other side of that is like the stuff you want to see go away. Like what trend in the industry right now that could still be trendy? Are you just rolling your eyes to the point of tearing the tendons behind your eyes? Like, you can't handle it anymore. What do you want to see go away?
Okay, this is very controversial because people that I love, it's something that I love.
Yeah.
And I think that chefs should slow down with caviar.
I love it. No, I agree.
Like, I love caviar. And I love caviar, but it doesn't need to go everywhere. It doesn't need to go on fried chicken.
We don't need an Ocetra-infused Ocetra batter complicated with Ocetra champagne.
But you know what? At the same time, what the fuck am I talking about? I literally went to Dayber to eat Malin's sandwich with her fish sandwich with the she has Ocetra.
Yeah.
No, it's Kaluga tartar sauce on it, and that's fucking perfect. So
Sure.
I don't know. I have no idea. No, I guess it's just chefs that I don't like doing it. Maybe that's it. Maybe I just don't want to see chefs that I don't like.
I mean, I'm not going to ask you to name drop. We can do that off air.
No, I'm not. I don't know. I love everybody.
I know Ilan Hall loves everybody. You heard it here first.
I do.
Along with it, so long as it's someone else's hand, it always feels better when you're jerking off.
Yes.
So we got that going for us. So God, I love this guy. Why 9 years? It has to be shorter than 9 years next time.
Man, you called me and I said you reached out. I said, yeah,
dude,
of course.
I mean, you literally turned a yes on in like 2 seconds. So kudos to you. I'm the asshole here. Career-wise, Ilan, you know, Ramen Hood's amazing. Food Network trajectory on point. Give me the 5-year plan. What are you looking at? What are you doing?
5-year plan. Make a retail product for a giant big box retailer, retail food product that sells 1 million units a year, and retire in happiness.
Might as well clap it right there and say, all right, cut. We're good. We're out. No, I love that. It's so funny. My wife and I were just talking about retiring early, and I had this moment where I'm like, damn, I never thought I'd be talking about retiring, let alone retiring early. And yet here we are. And
hey,
yeah, I mean, spot on.
No, I mean, that's not bullshit. I'm going to work till I'm 80 years old. That's just the way I am. But no, I mean, listen, I'd love to come up. I'd love to have a bunch of things going on. I'd love Ramen Hood to grow. I would love to get into the retail food space, whether it's with ramen stuff, whether it's with, some sort of condiments. I think that there's a lot of space for some beautiful stuff.
Yeah.
And I would like to make some more TV, and I think if I have some sort of a balance with a little bit of each, I think I'm a very, very happy guy.
Absolutely, and I think you're spot on TV, man. Again,
Thank you.
Just like tuning in, I can't tell you, it was like seeing somebody I knew from high school. Be like, oh my God, I know that guy, and like it was instant. And so like before, my defensiveness of you was like an old high school friend. I'm like, no, he didn't screw up. Screw that. That's bullshit. That was a bad call. Bad call. Bad flag on the play.
Bad call.
Bad call. Bad call.
Bad call by who was it? Ming Tsai and
yeah, Ming Tsai. Also a veteran of this podcast.
It was Scott Conant. Scott Conant was there.
Scott Conant, Ming Tsai, and yeah. Anywho.
Oh, and Alex Guarnaschelli. And the thing about Scott Conant is that Scott Conant was at the finale dinner from Top Chef.
Yes, he was. You're right.
So Top Chef. So he helped me win Top Chef, but he helped me lose tournament champion.
So I mean, I think he's at like a neutral. He's at a 0 for you right now. He needs to prove himself.
Yeah.
Tell Scott Conant I said, prove yourself to Elon right now.
Yes.
Needs to happen. Hey, you ready for some afters questions? Some funsies on the way out? All right.
Yes, chef.
Listen, chef. I'm standing in your kitchen. You and I are cooking together. You have control of the playlist. What are we listening to?
Look at the last thing I listened to on my phone. I will literally tell you right now. See the last thing I searched for. Oh yeah, there's a new, it's a really young group of 2 girls from LA, I think, called Flyana Boss. 2 words. F-L-Y-A-N-A Boss. B-O-S-S. And I somehow algorithmically found them on Instagram, and they're adorable, and they have this song. It's very catchy, and they run through like the street while they're doing it. It's 2 of them. It's very good.
Okay, well, I love running through the street to begin with. And 2 just like cute girls being just like fun. That's fantastic.
They're great. No, they're great, and their songs are boppy. It's good. I like pop music. I mean, it's hip hop, but it's like I like that new Lil Yachty album. That's great. It's very weird and very experimental. I don't know. I lean towards hip hop mostly, but I like a lot of things. I mean, I was listening to Rancid earlier this morning.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, so I'm all over the place. I've been following. I'm sorry. You asked me one simple question. It's supposed to be fun.
No, I love it.
Off on a huge tangent.
Go.
But no, I was. I used to be a big fan of NoFX, and they're on their final tour, and they haven't announced a New York date, and I'm traveling a little bit this summer with my family, and I'm like hoping that it doesn't coincide because I've missed every opportunity to see them live in my life.
Okay.
And I really want to see them.
That's amazing. And without being too self-serving, I am going to plug here. The new t-shirts are available, people, and they are based on the NoFX logo.
No way.
Dude, every one of my shirts has been punk influenced. I think I sent you the CBGB one.
You did. Yeah.
So I'm pulling the curtain way the hell back. I'm sending you and your fam shirts. They're all based on the MXPX, dude. And, it's amazing. My tattoo artist, Pat Manley, big up Pat, did the art for it, and it's incredible. So check them out. Go to the site, go to the page on Facebook, order them today, message me. I'll hook you up. No questions asked. But I totally agree. I think, it's amazing. I'm looking back through your answers. Do you want to know what your answers were 9 years ago?
Tell me.
R. Kelly, Action Bronson, and DMX.
Dude, that didn't age well.
That did not age well at all. One's in prison. One's, I think, still on Vice. And
no, he's got his own. No, Action's still great, but then DMX is passed. Wow, that's R. Kelly. But I used to be a huge R. Kelly fan. And then now I'm no longer. So there you go.
Yeah. That's So anywho, let's move on past that, shall we?
Thanks for that one.
Sorry about that, dude.
No, that's fine.
All right. Next question, hypothetical situation. You're going to be stranded on a deserted island, and you can only bring 3 foods or food type items with you. What would they be and why? Inexhaustible supply.
Inexhaustible supply.
Only 3, though.
I feel like I remember what the last one was.
I got it right in front of me, buddy. So
I think I said, did I say French fries?
Holy shit. Crispy French fries, you're 1 for 1.
Haagen-Dazs vanilla ice cream.
Holy shit, 2 for 2.
Fuck, now the last one I don't know. Last one I don't remember. What was the last one?
Do you want to take a guess?
Fucking sushi? I don't know.
No, bacon.
What was it? Bacon, okay. That
bacon.
makes more sense.
But, dude, I mean, two for 2 9 years ago.
Yeah.
We'll take that, no question. By the way, just because I am a fallible host, you said NoFX and I said MXPX.
And you said MXPX. I caught that, but I didn't want to correct.
My bad entirely, thank you. Because again, NoFX is Fat Mike, MXPX is the one with the crazy punk kid in the logo. However, shirts are still as promised. Because obviously, little punk love there. The next one.
Wait, so do you want to hear my updated ones that I would do now if I change them?
Oh my god, of course. I'm sorry, I was playing the guessing game with you. My bad.
No, it's fine. It would probably be mushrooms, not like psychedelic mushrooms, but I mean that. But I don't consider that a food thing.
Right. That's a pastime.
Some sort of mushroom. No, I think mushrooms like they kind of take a lot. I don't know. They can fill in for a lot of things.
They can do it.
Give you a lot of. They're a wonderful thing. I've always loved mushrooms, but I think like now I love them the most.
Well, look at you with vegan ramen. I mean that's just that is the meat substitute.
Yeah, and I also love I'm kind of lightened by my diet a bit, so it's like kind of I'd like something, but specifically I'd want the black shogun maitake mushrooms that Regalis sells because those are fucking perfect.
Gotcha. Yep.
Those are great. Haagen-Dazs vanilla ice cream with Christmas.
Love it.
There you go.
Love it. Fantastic, as usual. Melanie Denea, My Last Supper, The Next Course. 2 beautiful coffee table books. Inspiration for the show to a certain extent. Gave the following question. What is your last supper? Your ticket's getting punched tomorrow. What are you eating? What are you drinking? Who's going to be there? What music are you listening to? Talk to me.
One of the things I want is I just want a shawarma with green hot sauce, stuffed with French fries and the pita, tons of tahini sauce, and like that's not what I'm eating enough of, but like that's what I want.
That's the perfect out for you.
Yeah, it's just like it, with Israeli salad type, so it's like, or Palestinian salad, or however you want to sort of relate politically. It's all Middle Eastern deliciousness. But I think that has everything in it. It's got starch, it's got vegetable, it's got meat, it's got spice, it's got creaminess. It's not too heavy. There's something like beautifully balanced about a shawarma pita. So I'd probably do a shawarma pita, and I'd be talking to my grandma who just passed away last year.
Oh, I'm sorry, man.
No, thank you. I appreciate it. No, listen, she was 103 years old.
Holy shit. All right, okay.
Yeah, she lived a very very, very long life. But I also had a very close relationship with her, and we spoke a lot, and we traveled together. Yeah. I think that her and I were very, very close. And so I always loved speaking to her because her brain was flawless until the moment she passed away. So she remembered everything. She escaped the war. She, fled when she was 19. Like she was just, and remembered every detail about everything. So one of the most interesting people to talk to, and I was very privileged to have that. So I think that would be a great conversation.
Love it.
And delicious, simple food.
I love it. I love every single facet of that story. And last question, simplest to most complex, Chef. What is food to you in a single word?
Pure joy. Just joy. Just joy.
I love it. 9 years ago it was life. Now it's joy. And I mean, if anything shows almost an evolution, like life is kind of survival, but joy is appreciation. Brilliant, Chef. Well, sir, again, it's been 9 long years. Here we are reconnecting, and I hope it is not that long the next time we do this dance. Chef Ilan Hall, folks, if you want to check him out, go out to Food Network Tournament of Champions, check out his performance, check out Ramen Hood, 317 South Broadway Street, LA, California, 90013. Call 213-285-7571 for reservations, inquisitions, and such. And check him out on the socials. He's all over the place. He's very visible. Just an amazing chef presence, an amazing ambassador for the industry. Chef Ilan Hall, as always, my brother, an incredible pleasure and absolute honor.
I really appreciate it, Sean. Thank you so much for having me back.
Absolutely.
Let's do it again.
Absolutely. Not 9 years next time, though, right?
No, definitely not. Just listen, reach out, and I'm here.
Absolutely. Thank you, brother. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been episode number 201 of the Course Grind Podcast. With us again this evening, the immeasurable Chef Ilan Hall. Our producer, as always, has been Johnny Leland Robinson, a.k.a. the Reverend Johnny Lamoria. Be sure to check out everything he's got going on the socials. And the next episode will be 202. Not quite sure where that's going yet, but I'm sure it's going to be a good one. Stay tuned.
Retour aux sources, enfin tout recommencer. Retour aux sources pour se régénérer. Retour aux sources, avance vers le passé. Retour aux sources, batterie rechargée. Retour aux sources, enfin tout recommencer.
Are you passing through Central Pennsylvania and looking for one of the best dining experiences and craft brew menus around? Look no further. Turkey Hill Brewing Company and 991 Central Road in Bloomsburg, PA has everything you could ask for and then some. Service, food, beer together. Unbelievable. Be sure to check them out. Call them today for reservations. 570-387-8422. Call today.